Another wisdom or reason on why he ended his book with an essential chapter, Kitāb At-Tawḥīd, is that ulama often emphasize important matters by placing them either in the beginning or the end of the work. For example, al-Bukhari chose to address this essential matter at the end of his book. Other ulama, like Ibn Majah, he responded to the Jahmiyyah in the beginning of his book. He has a chapter, Ibn Majah, rahimahullah ta'ala, فيما أنكرت باب فيما أنكرت الجهمية. So he put it at the beginning, the chapter on what the Jahmiyyah denied. Another perspective on why he concluded his book with such an essential chapter is that he in reality began his book with Tawhid. I mentioned the first 3 chapters, the book on Revelation. And I said that serves more like an introduction. al-Wahy serves more as an introduction to his book. While the first real chapter, the first real substantive chapter after the introduction is Kitāb Al-Īmān. As I mentioned, the book of faith. Tawhīd is the first pillar of Iman. When Jibril asked the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam about Iman, he said, "Mal Iman?" قال al-Iman an tu'mina billah. So Tawhid is the first pillar of Iman. And Iman encompasses a broader scope. So the first and most important pillar of Iman is an tu'mina billah, Tawhid. The other pillars follow: belief in angels, in books, and in messengers, and so on. In fact, if you look under Kitāb Al-Īmān, the first hadith he mentions under Kitāb Al-Īmān is hadith Ibn Umar radiyallahu عنهما on the pillars of Islam. In the first pillar of Islam, بني الإسلام على خمس شهادة أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمدا رسول الله. The first pillar of Iman is Tawhid. And that's where he begins his book, right after the introductory chapter on Revelation. So when you reflect on it, he did begin his book with Tawhid, and he ended his book with Tawhid. Another point is that usually the first thing that reaches the ear or that's read by the eyes, the first thing is what's usually embedded in the heart and mind. And similarly, the last thing that's read or heard is what becomes firmly established in one's heart and mind. That's why in our fiqh class and other classes, we try to give a summary in the beginning and we try to give a summary at the end, because that's really what sticks in the mind most. So he began with Kitāb Al-Īmān, which starts off with Tawhid, and he concluded with the chapter on Tawhid, and he placed in between them the various branches and fruits that emanate from these foundational principles. Branches, what's in between them? Branches that cannot be accepted without the foundation which he started and ended his book with.